Hello, mateys. We're here today with VBS Missions in a Box. I'm Miss Robin. I'm here today talking with Noah and Tarin Madden, and they're our newest missionaries here in the United States. And I'm going to ask you a few questions, if that's all right.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about yourselves for those who don't know you already.
Yeah, so my name's Noah, and I grew up in Canada and recently went to school to prepare to be a pastor and met Tarin, and Tarin and I have been married for 5 years.
Yeah, so my name is Tarin, and while we were in school, I got to study to be a counselor.
How did God lead you to become missionaries?
Yeah, this is a great question. We really didn't have a super spiritual experience where we heard an audible voice. It was really kind of a simple process, really just by reading the Bible and seeing God's heart for people to come to know Him. As we read the Bible together and separately, we really felt God clearly speaking to us that way. Through prayer, our time talking to God and just hearing Him talk back to us, we felt very clearly that He was calling us to be missionaries. And then lastly, just realizing the need and how many people in the world don't know Jesus, both here in the U.S. and internationally. We just felt because of those three things that God was clearly calling us to do something about that.
What city will you be going to, and what specific needs brought you to that city?
Yeah, so we're going to Boston, Massachusetts. It's not a place that we were very familiar with. In fact, we had never been before we really felt like God was calling us there. And more specifically, we're going to a place south of Boston. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So the town that we are going to be moving to is called Weymouth, and it's the second oldest settlement in New England. So it's very historic and a quaint town, but we're very excited to go there because we get to start a new church, and there aren't very many churches there. And there are a lot of people who don't know Jesus that we really want to get to know.
So what are your goals and desires for your future in Boston?
Yeah, I think part of the process for us is we really don't, there's a lot we don't know. Planting a church is kind of like a day at a time, week at a time process. There's not really a textbook. It's more of a journey, walking with God, but we know that most importantly, God cares about people, and the church is not a building, right, but it's people, and so the biggest goal, the first goal we have is to get to know people in Weymouth, and to learn from them what life is like there. We're not from that place. We don't know the real challenges of the people that live there, and we don't know their greatest needs apart from Jesus. So the first goal will be to get to know people in the community. And I would say the second goal is to earn their favor and to have a reputation of people that really, really care about others. God really can use that. To see people come to Christ, to build His church. But first, it's all about getting to know people.
How can we here at First Baptist Enterprise support you in what God has placed before you?
Yeah. So we'd say the most important way that you can support us is through prayer. And if I'm honest with you, I remember as a kid, I grew up in church, and I'd hear missionaries say that. And my first thought was, do you really mean that? Being a missionary is expensive, especially when you're moving to a place like Boston where the cost of living is so high. And I would kind of wonder, does the missionary really mean that? And I just want to share with you on this side of things, we really need your prayers. We need your prayers more than anything else. We know that God hears and listens to our prayers. And that He's the one who is going to call people to come to know Him, and He's the one who's going to plant this church, and He's the one who's going to grow His church. And so we would just ask that you pray for us, pray, and we'll give you some specific ways you can pray for us in a minute, but prayer is the biggest way. Secondly, we'd encourage you to continue as a family to give faithfully to this local church. It's a blessing to have First Baptist Enterprise as our lead partner church. To be honest, we could not do what God's calling us to do without this church. We're moving in just a few weeks. We could not move right now if it was not for the way that First Baptist is supporting us. So we're extremely thankful. Continue to give to your local church. And then there's also ways to partner with us individually, financially. And there'll be some information about our newsletters and ways you can learn more about that. But we'd just be really encouraged if you'd pray for us.
And do you have specific things that you'd like us to pray for you for?
Yeah. You want to share that?
So one of the ways that you can pray for us right now is for our move and our transition. We are very excited to get to Boston next week, and we are also a little bit nervous about what that's going to look like. So if you would pray for our transition, the moving process, and just for us to get settled nicely when we get there. And that way we can get started getting to know the community as soon as possible. And then also, I would say, just what Noah said earlier, pray that we would gain the trust and the favor of the people in our community so that we can minister to them the best way we know how. And then also just pray for us as a team. We have a team that's already there, and just pray for us to have unity and peace among our team as we work together. Is there anything else you would add?
Well, there you have it. We can all be a part of this ministry, and through that, we will all be missionaries working together to do that. We are called by God to share the gospel at all times, whether it's here locally, whether it's in Boston, in our United States, or whether it is across the globe. We have that responsibility as missionaries.